Hey Rockstar, Steve aka Void here. Welcome to another episode of RIFFSTARTER, where I help you play your favorite riffs from day one by removing those annoying speed bumps and roadblocks that slow you down. All the strategies and techniques can be found in my best-selling book, Practice Less, Play More. You can grab that at playsongsfaster.com. So welcome to today's episode. Today I'm excited because the riff that we're talking about today, as you probably heard in the intro, is one of my favorite riffs of all time, and that's Thunderstruck. Now, Thunderstruck is one of those riffs a lot of guitar players want to play, but then they try getting their hands on it and it kind of all goes to hell. And so what I want to do in this episode is I want to simplify. We do what we do best here. We simplify it so that you can start playing this from day one. Now, before we get started, I want to talk about a quick little problem that a lot of guitar players face. And the reason for this is because they try to match their current skill level to the level of the record versus the opposite, which is we want to match the level of the record or the riff to your current skill level, and that's how you play from day one. So let's check out the tab really quickly here. And what's interesting is the way that I approach this riff is a lot like how Angus plays it live, and I'll show you in a second. But here, you can see how, and you heard in the intro, there's a lot of picking, okay? It's all picking, all alternate. And this starts on an up. See, what's interesting is if you start this on a down, the whole thing's going to be thrown off. But we still have to start on an upstroke. Up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 over and over and over and over and over. Da, 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 da. Okay, and that precision that's required from that is probably going to make the riff sound something like this when you try it out. Let me get some distortion in here. It'll sound something like this. Let me go back here. It'll be like, you know, you try, let's say you start on a downstroke. You're just trying to get this going like this, and what happens is you might get some of it going and maybe even go for it where you're like, it always kind of trips on itself, okay? Lots of speed bumps there. And so maybe you play slowly like that, but it never quite lifts off. Like it never it takes off to where you're playing like you get that, you know, what Angus does, up to speed with the record. We don't want to settle for that. We don't want to just slow things down and try, like, maybe you get it like, okay, you don't want to do that. What I have to talk about is, you know, if you can't play it at least 75% speed, then we have to modify something else, not just the speed. Sometimes you can play a shorter amount, so you can go like, maybe you speed that up a bit, but trying to play a lot of it, it's still, when you use the amount modifier, so the speed modifier, bring it down to 75%. If you can't go down beyond, if you can't play it at 75% speed, you have to look at another modifier. Amount is where we shorten the thing. So for example, we play less. So maybe you play, for example, you play like one bar or a part of the bar, but even that gets limited. So what do? Well, that's why, you know, I created RIFFSTARTER to show you the other modifier, which is complexity. We have to simplify the song. So if we simplify the riff, what do? How do we do that? So let's have a look over here. And if we look at, so here, one of the key things about this riff are all the open strings, okay? And I also think back to, watching them live, watching AC/DC live, and typically when Angus Young is playing this, he's playing like that, like he's got the hand up, like he's basically looking out at the audience, and he's playing like this. He's playing like this with hammer-ons and pull-offs. So interesting, Angus. If we take that approach and we use hammer-ons and pull-offs, then what we get is something that can sound like this, which is actually how I usually play this riff. Which only requires basically one hand, okay? Now, how do we do that? Because even trying that, it could be a little bit tricky. So what we want to do first is we want to press. So what I recommend is if we go back to the tab, we'll see that it's 4s and 7s, okay, for this part here, and then we have 5s and 8s, okay? So we have 4s and 7s, and then we have 5s and 8s. This is all on the second string. So if we take those locations, what I would do first is I'd actually play with clean. Okay, and I would actually just press as if they're buttons, 4, 7, 4, 7, 4, 7, 4, 7, and just get comfortable with that. Doesn't matter what speed with this. All I'm doing is looking at 4 and 7, kind of looking like at 4 and 7 altogether, so I don't have to keep looking 4, 7 back and forth. Just looking at it far away enough where I could see both. Pressing those buttons, okay? Just press the button like a kid playing with a toy. Like you're just pressing buttons, okay? Now what's cool about that is as soon as you bring the distortion back in, especially if it's super high gain, now you kind of, even just from pressing the button, when you lift off the string, a lift off is with high gain is gonna usually give you a little bit of the B sound, the open B sound. Okay, and so you get those buttons there. Then you get 5 and 8. It's about getting some clarity out of that. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, Steve, I don't understand. Now, like, if I was going to play this fast, then it's a bit too fast, right? So that's where, after we get comfortable with playing those buttons, pressing those buttons, okay, and don't worry about all the extra string noise or anything like that. We'll fix that in a second. But we have this here, okay? Next, what we do is now we don't have the index finger take care of the whole job. Now we know that it's 4 and 7. Now we can use index and ring finger. Those are the fingers I recommend. Okay, and before this gets too noisy, what I also recommend is that you put the pick or the thumb on the 3rd string and you use your middle finger on the 1st string, so that no matter what happens, there's no extra noise. You even can lay the side of the thumb across to block the 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so you basically block 4, 5, and 6 with your thumb, and then the pick is blocking the 3rd string, and then your middle finger is blocking the 1st string. So literally, if I brush across here, you only hear the 1st string. So you're muting everything over here. So now what you're doing is 4, 7, 4, 7, 4, 7, 4, 7, 4, 7, 4, just pressing those buttons. You can even just stick with 4 and 7. Just even be like a kid, like play as fast as you want. Like, be a little reckless with it, okay? And then slow it down to a comfortable speed. Okay, and then when that's comfortable, then go to 5 and 8. And always look at the fretboard. Okay, and then again. And then we can start practicing is them going back and forth. Like you go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm counting how many times I'm playing the index finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, after that, once you get that, pressing those buttons with the high gain, then you can start pulling off a little bit. So what's happening is I'm hammering and then pulling off just a little bit. I'm just plucking just a little bit. If I play clean, you can hear how light it is. What's cool is because I'm blocking these strings over here, now I can actually pull off a lot if I want to, because I'm not worried about any extra noise, okay? It's like a security precaution over here, okay? Safety measure. And it would work the same way with, like, you're basically pressing buttons. You could start with the same thing. So even with one finger, with one little, like, set of 4 notes. Like four different 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 button locations. Okay. 12, 10, 9, 10, 9. And you just keep continuing. And then when you do it with one finger, then you can do it with multiple fingers just to make it a bit easier. Okay? And just go like that until you just go back and forth until you could play. Okay? And you just keep going like that. So it makes it a lot easier to do that. Makes it a lot easier. Let me go back here. Makes it a lot easier to do that versus trying to pick right away going like that, where, you know, it does require some precision. It requires some precision. And so why mess with that on day one when you could just start playing from day one, right? And then obviously when you have the pull-offs happening, and you get through, you know, like the rock stance with like having the pick in the air, and you know, you're doing the pull-offs like Angus does on stage in the schoolboy outfit. All kidding aside, you get that riff going, and then that's going to be your foundation if you want to do the pick. But chances are you're going to be playing along with the record and having fun, and maybe that's good. I mean, that's how I play Thunderstruck. When I'm playing Thunderstruck, I'm basically going like, let me show the. I'm basically striking the first string to give it some juice, and then it's just staying still. It's all about creating a game you're guaranteed to win. Like, you don't want to have all these things happening at all times. Like, all these things you have to coordinate, and you know, all the things about guitar that slow you down. Get some wins first, and then that'll provide, so it's instant gratification, but then also it's going to be your future foundation. It's like you're going to have a foundation that'll help you to build onto the next step and the next step and the next step, upgrade until it sounds like the record, or until you're satisfied. Okay, but that's how I recommend going through Thunderstruck, and it's a much more fun approach, because you're getting, with a difficult riff like this or a more complex riff that's got some speed to it, you're not relying on two hands of coordination. You're just mostly focusing on your fretting hand. All right. So let me know what you think inside the comments. If you have any questions or anything like that, let me know what you thought of the episode. Again, you can check out my best-selling book, Practice Less, Play More, at playsongsfaster.com. That's where we got the best deal going on right now. And that's basically it. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, and we will chat soon. Take care.